It is week 18 of the NHL, and the season has become completely unhinged. We got a goalie fight in an outdoor game for the first time ever. We also saw a superstar get traded for a pile of sticks. You got players calling out their goalie and coaching staff. Meanwhile, the projected number one pick in this year's NHL draft got charged with assault, and the Battle of Florida has led to yet another all-out brawl. The Olympic break is right around the corner, but the NHL season went out with a bang. So let's cover what really happened in Week 18. Now on Sunday, we only had 3 games on, so we start with the Kings and Hurricanes. Might as well start off the week with a mini-stick-like save here by Drew Doughty. It is chaos in front of the net. He is belly to ice, trying to keep the puck out, and he stops it with his foot like he's scrambling in the basement. What a save. If only he had a couple more legs, maybe the Kings would have found a way to win this game, because Carolina comes out on top in 3-on-3 OT. Now, the Hurricanes are one of those teams that just never get talked about too much because they're always good and they're always expected to go deep. At the same time, though, no one really believes that they have what it takes to get over the hump, so everyone just expects them to still consistently fall short. That being said, they're still top of the East. You know they're going to be knocking on the door come playoff time. They just better hope that Florida doesn't make it in. Then Vegas is in Anaheim, and the Golden Knights are riding the struggle bus right now. The PETA guy from Sausage Party, Chris Kreider, gets 2 goals in this game. That is now Vegas' 5th loss in a row. The Oilers are now tied with them for the top spot in the Pacific. However, the main event is the Stadium Series game between the Bruins and Lightning. This is the first ever outdoor game in Tampa Bay. This game was absolutely nuts. Hagel scores 11 seconds in, setting a new outdoor record for the fastest goal. But the party ends quickly because the Bruins storm back with 5 straight goals. Things looked absolutely cooked for Tampa until the Bruins get themselves in penalty trouble. Hagel gets in Swayman's kitchen, and all of a sudden, it's a brawl. Vasi sees that and says, "We're going here. Swayman is game." And can you believe this? We have a goalie fight in an outdoor game before GTA 6. It was 6 years ago since the last time we saw a goalie fight. Now we got 2 in the span of 2 weeks. Hockey is back, and that right there just turned the game on its head for Tampa's favor. They come all the way back to tie it and force OT, where the refs get their moment to shine. Pastrnak seems to end the game, but it's called no goal because there was a penalty on the play and no one heard the whistle. It was also late as hell. So the Bruins are pissed. Pastrnak is pissed. It goes to a shootout where Pasta has a chance for redemption. He hits the post and Tampa completes the comeback. We did a full breakdown on this game on our channel this past week, so check that video out after this one. But this was the biggest comeback in franchise history for the Lightning and potentially the game of the year so far. What a way to start the week. Moving on to Tuesday, this is a big game between the Sabres and the Panthers. Florida is on the verge of losing their season here if they don't go on a run, and they're in big-time trouble if they lose to Buffalo in this decision. So, Florida was up 2-0 at one point in this game. Then we see Bobrovsky channel his inner flyer self, comes out to play it. Bad choice. He gives Buffalo a layup, and Officer Bob, he's off the case after that one, and that pretty much turned the game around. The Sabres are for real as they beat Florida 5-3, and the Panthers have now lost 4 in a row and are 9 points back of a playoff spot. Even Matthew Tkachuk said after the game that if they don't simplify their game as a whole, the season is finished. I'm sure absolutely everyone is ecstatic to hear that. What's even crazier is that with the Senators beating the Penguins 3-2, they now pass Florida, and it was only like 2 weeks ago when the whole hockey world was talking about how much of a disaster the Sens were. But like I've said, the numbers suggest that if they could just get league average goaltending, this team could be a wagon. If they stay healthy and Allmark plays, I do like their chances the most in the Atlantic to go on a run after the Olympics. Meanwhile, Tom Wilson is at it again. First, he catches Holmstrom in the trolley trucks, ba-boom. Then he immediately answers the bell against Mayfield. This guy is either going to be a nuclear weapon in the Olympics, or he's going to get tossed out in the first game. Who knows? But the Caps do pull off a big win against the Islanders, who are in that 3rd spot in the Metro, and now Washington is just 2 points back of them. In Minnesota, the Habs are in town, but the Wild's big boys put on a show. The Carillionaire himself, 2 goals, including the OT winner. That's why he gets 17 sheets a year and why we call him the Carillionaire. But also, Quinn Hughes is a monster. 3-assist game for him tonight, and listen to this stat. Hughes has now tied Ryan Suter for most 3+ assist games in Wild franchise history by a defenseman. Ryan Suter has played 656 games for the Wild. Hughes has played 25. That's how good this sick puppy is. The Quinnesota is in full effect. Then in Dallas, Mikko Rantanen dangles the socks off of both Luke Schenn, turns him inside out, and then he gets Hellebuck swimming at sea. That is pretty. That's what the Moose will do to you if you're not careful. The Stars get the job done in OT, and how about this for the league format? The top 3 teams in the Central are also the top 3 teams in the league. So one of Dallas, Colorado, or Minnesota will be flying to Cancun earlier than expected after the first round. Now, the Avs had Detroit again in back-to-back games, and this time they get stoned by John Gibson. 2-0 shutout win. Gibson has been one of the best goalies in the league since December 1st, and that's why Detroit is in the mix right now. We also got big news out of Nashville. Barry Trotz has announced that he is stepping down as general manager once they find him a replacement. He's sick of watching the Preds let him down after he made it the most expensive retirement home in the league. But Nashville, they got some dog in them this year. They are down 5-1 against the St. Louis Blues, and this week 4-goal leads just seem like they're no bueno. Nashville comes all the way back, and Steven Stamkos activates Stammer time again in the clutch. He gets the game-tying goal and the game-winning goal. He's having a bounce-back season, and all of a sudden, the Preds are 2 points back of a wild card spot thanks to the Blues choke job. St. Louis, by the way, is probably the worst team to have a 4-goal lead. They are somehow below 500 in games where they've had a 4-goal lead. So tells you how good they are this season. In the late games, we got Utah playing the Canucks, and it's like stealing candy from a baby. It's a free W for Utah. They stroll in with a 6-2 win with Nick Schmaltz having a legacy game. He had a 4-point night and a hat trick to boot. Toronto, on the other hand, is in Calgary, and like Florida, they're in trouble. Good thing that Will Nye, the science guy, is back for them. He was a monster in this one. 3 points for him, but the Leafs almost do what they always do. That is blow leads. They were up 3-0 at one point. Calgary came back. This game was almost tied up off of this crazy bounce that goes off the boards right to the empty cage for Klapka, but Giuseppe Wonderwall hits the Superman dive to just get a paddle on it to keep it out. That is a parade reinstater as the Leafs win their second in a row, because we all know they can't even tank properly. Finally, we finish off the night with the 2 brightest young stars in the league, Bedard versus Celebrini. Welcome to the new era of hockey, and Connor Bedard sets the tone early with a one-timer on the power play. He's fired up about that, but you know Celebrini had an answer too. He had an assist and then dinks this one bar south for an unreal goal. Him and Bedard had a funny mic'd up moment where Bedard jokingly asked Celebrini if he wants to go at center ice. Would have been electric if you ask me, but Chicago was able to pull off the win by scoring 6 goals on only 17 shots. The Sharks have now lost 3 in a row, and their Stanley Cup prophecy is slowly slipping away. Perhaps the break is coming at a perfect time for them. Now, before we hop into Tuesday's games, today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek, the #1 rated ticketing app with over 28 million downloads. There's more than 70,000 listed events, from sports to concerts to festivals and more. The app allows me to browse seating on a scale of 1 to 10, search for tickets, and get the best deals available. Guys, World Cup tickets are already on sale on the app. I'm probably going to watch it with it being in Toronto. I might go watch Team Italy play, but it looks like they might not even qualify again. How funny. I use it all the time for Leaf games. I use it for other events as well, and you can do the same by using code HOCKEY2026 to get 10% off your next pair of tickets. Just hit the link in the description to download the app, and it'll automatically apply the code to your account so you're ready the next time you find a deal. So make sure you download the app to get a great deal. It's 100% worth it. And once again, big shout out to our pals at SeatGeek for sponsoring these weekly recaps. Now on to Tuesday. It's Wagon versus Wagon. Sabres versus Tampa. Buffalo has them on the ropes in this one, 3-2 with 30 seconds left. But Darren Radish with the cannon. This guy's agent is sleeping on stacks of money based on the season this guy is having. He's going to get paid this offseason. He fires the pill like it owes him money. That ties the game, and then in OT, it's a Hail Mary from Kucherov to Gensel. This guy is a stone cold killer. Reminds Ellis to close his damn legs as Tampa completes the comeback. Now, we also got to talk about Nikita Kucherov. Back-to-back 4-point games. This is his 5th game already in 2026 where he's had 4 or more points. And listen to this stat, too. It's absurd. He's got 39 points in 2026, which would put him first on the Calgary Flames, Seattle Kraken, St. Louis Blues, and Vancouver Canucks, and he's only played 16 games in 2016. He is in MVP level territory as we speak right now. Staying in the Atlantic, the Sens were on a nice little run coming into this game on a 4-game win streak, but because I gassed them up, they were due for a loss. It is Russian roulette in the crease right now. Optimus Rhyme gets the start, and it goes the way it has all season for Ottawa. He lets in 4 goals on 18 shots. Sens lose 4-3, which make their playoff chances even worse, while the Hurricanes are just running away with the Metro this year. 2 teams behind them are the Penguins and Islanders. They're having a Rochambeau themselves. There's a bird in the arena. He's got the best seat in the house for him to see Matthew Schaefer absolutely bomb one to get the buzzer beater at the end of the first period. This kid is electric. At 18 years old, he's already got more goals this season than Cale Makar. This one was a crazy back and forth, but it's Bo Horvat on the breakaway in OT. Call him Bo T. I'll see myself out. But that is the game winner as the Islanders pick up a very important 2 points, especially because the Jackets will not lose with their new head coach, Rick Bowness. They go to New Jersey and shut them out 3-0. They're now 9-1 since the coaching change, and I don't know what the hell is going on with the Devils this year, but the fan base and team have never seemed more disconnected. They asked Jack Hughes what he would say to Devils fans who have lost faith, and he says he'd have nothing to say. I guess that's what happens when you boo his brother, but you better get your clubs ready, boys, because that trip to Cancun is coming quick. Another disaster in the Metro is Philly. We got some drama going on between the coach, Rick Tocchet, and the young Russian winger, Matvei Michkov. Recently, Rick Tocchet openly talked about how Michkov showed up to training camp out of shape, and that got Philly fans all hell-bent on the relationship between the coach and the player. So, GM Danny Briere had to come out and put out the fire by saying Michkov isn't going anywhere, and that might have helped him a little bit. He actually got an assist in this game and a 4-2 Flyers win over the Caps, which is a tough one because Washington needs all the points that they can get right now. Let's go out west for the Ducks and Kraken. Huge Pacific Division game. Winner takes third place, and it was looking like a goalie battle until the Ducks started rolling. Philly's favorite, Cutter Gauthier, leads the Ducks in scoring and gets another one in this game. Anaheim has been on fire lately. They win this one 4-2. They're now 8-2 in their last 10, and they're also the only team in the Pacific with a winning percentage above 50%. I know the standings don't make sense, so you gotta ask Gary about that one. Finally, in the main event, we go to the Leafs versus Oilers, and just when you think Toronto is going to go for the tank, they're on the verge of sweeping Western Canada on this road trip, and if you can believe it, it's their power play that gives them the upper hand in this game. They get a 5-on-3 for nearly 2 minutes, and they cash in on both, but the real story was Anthony Stolarz. He stopped 34 of 36 shots, and none better than this one. McDavid to Draisaitl for the patented 1T, but he robs him blind to keep the puck out of the net as the Leafs win 5-2 and are now just 5 points back of Boston going into the break. You best believe that the parade is slowly starting to come back on. Now, moving on to Wednesday, things got out of hand quick. First, with there being a trade freeze before the Olympic break, GMs were treating this like a mini trade deadline, and we got one big move. Artemi Panarin, the bread man, goes to LA in exchange for Liam Greentree, a third-round pick in 2026, and a fourth in 2028. Now, if you're wondering why the hell did one of the most productive wingers in the league get dealt for a bundle of sticks and some clear tape, it's because he had all the leverage with a no-move clause. Panarin's deal was up at the end of this season, and he only wanted to go to LA. So the Kings took full advantage, and the breadman is off to California, where he gets a 2-year, $22 million extension to boot. Rangers fans weren't happy with the return, but I guess the only bright spot is that at least makes them even worse to embrace the tank and draft Gavin McKenna first overall. But that might not actually happen, because then news broke that the projected number 1 pick is facing assault charges after he, quote, hit a 21-year-old male in the face during an altercation, resulting in facial injuries requiring corrective surgery. As a result, he could face up to 20 years in prison. Now, we don't know if that will actually happen, but he saw that he could be a future Ranger or Canuck and said, yep, I'll take the 20 years. Now, the alleged story was that the victim was verbally harassing one of McKenna's family members, which led to the altercation. At least that's what Mike McMahon reported at the College Hockey Insider. We don't know the full story yet, but McKenna isn't the first hockey player to get into dust up at a bar. Definitely won't be the last. We don't know yet how this will impact his draft stock or hockey career, but if he was defending a family family member, I bet some teams will absolutely love the fact that this kid is out here one-punching guys in defense of his family. Who knows? Maybe it actually solidifies him at the #1 spot at the draft. Either way, absolutely wild story, and that was before all the hockey got started. And the hockey itself started off hot with the Panthers and Bruins kicking us off here. This game is essentially Florida's season on the line, and right away things get testy. Velmanis is going to throw a high and late hit on Charlie McAvoy. Guy chicken wings his elbow to get him in the head too. No penalty on Florida on the play, by the way. Things would stay hot as well, as later Jeannot and Greer have a 40-second scrap, both throwing haymakers. None landed like Gavin McKenna's, but it's still a great tilt, and AJ Greer even stumbled down the tunnel afterwards after that one. A game like this was always going to a shootout, and who gets the job done? It is the Rat King himself. Brad Marchand, the former Bruin, forehand, backhand, let's go home. Florida wins to just barely stay alive in the playoff race. Over in Columbus, they may never lose again. Zach Werenski is the first defenseman to reach 20 goals this season. He's been a monster, and the Blue Jackets strolled a 4-0 win over the Chicago Bedards. That's shutouts in back-to-back days, and the Jackets are now 10-1 since the coaching change. The break is coming at a bad time for them because they are just rolling right now. As for the Jets, the season from hell continues as they get spanked at home by Montreal, and the downfall of Winnipeg has been quite steep this season. Meanwhile, Nashville is in another barn burner against the Wild. Just 13 minutes in, Matt Boldy Hahn gets a hat trick. This was a back and forth game all night, but the Wild's captain Spurgeon, the surgeon, with a precision finish, 6-5 win for Minnesota. That is their 5th win in a row. Now here's an interesting chain of events also. The Stars and Blues have played each other 3 times in the last 2 weeks, and every single time the game was tied with a minute left, and the Stars scored to win in the last minute. And in this game, it happens again. 22 seconds left. Miro Heiskanen zips a bullet of a pass right to Jamie Benn. He finishes it off. That's the game. The top 3 teams in the Central are ridiculous. The Stars win their 6th in a row to keep up with the Wild. The Avs, though, are ahead of both of them and just won't stop winning either. Arturi Lehkonen, 2 goals. They shut down Celebrini completely, and the Sharks have now lost 4 in a row and are falling behind in the wild card race. The opposite is true for the Mammoth. They have been fantastic over the last few weeks as they get another win over Detroit to occupy the first wildcard spot in the West. And we can also congratulate the Vegas Golden Knights too, as they didn't do anything, but they just get to play Vancouver. So it's pretty much a free W. And how about this from Akira Schmidt? He's falling backwards like a grandma with a bad hip, and he still finds a way to snag it with the glove. Holy Schmidt, that is a great save. God, the Canucks are horrible. Vegas wins 5-2 to stay on top of the worst division in hockey right now, which is the Pacific. Now that sets up a pretty important wildcard game between the Kraken and the Kings. No Panarin in this one for LA, of course. No way he's playing until after the break. Guy's probably in Cabo right now sipping on margaritas after being shut down for the last week by the Rangers. And it's a damn shame because the Kings probably could have used him in this one. Shane Wright scores 2 goals for Seattle. He's probably still staring down the table of Montreal for not picking him. Kraken win and get a big 2 points here before the break. Finally, we go to the Battle of Alberta, which means, of course, we're getting a tilt. Hanley and Emerson start chucking them, but it's the Lamborghini himself, Ryan Lomberg, with the dagger on the scoreboard. He gets the game winner. Oilers have now lost 3 in a row heading into the break, but all the juicy stuff came after. Leon Draisaitl did not hold back, calling out the coaches and his tendy. He said it starts with the coaches being better and that he thinks that their saves that their goalie needs to make at some point. He is right, though, because the Oilers goaltending has only had 1 game in their last 8 where the save percentage was above an .883. The Skinner for Jari trade ain't looking too great right now, and I know some people wanted Skinner gone, but I never got the trade from day one. Skinner's younger, he's been to 2 Cup finals, and Jari at his best was never a significant upgrade over Skinner. Sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, and the Oilers head into the break with some turbulence. Now, Thursday was the last day of hockey until the Olympic break, and let me tell you, it went out with a bang. First, let's start with the Sens versus Flyers. We'll jump right into OT and watch this play from Timmy Stu. Drives in, twinkle toes last second, backhand tuck, that's all she wrote. Potential SeatGeek goal of the week right there. The Sens can enjoy a nice vacation to Punta Cana knowing they go out with 2 points. Then we have potentially actually the debut of the season. Avery Hayes becomes just the 7th player ever to score 2 goals in a single period in his first career NHL game. The Penguins are one of the biggest surprises this season heading into the Olympic break as they beat Buffalo 5-2. Now, big news for Seth Jarvis. It was announced that he would be replacing Braden Point at the Olympics for Team Canada. That is a tough bounce for Braden Point, but Seth Jarvis was on the Four Nations team last year. He has the trust of the coaching staff, so he comes in as the injury replacement, which has some Canadians palms up as to why the hell they just won't pick Bedard or Scheifele. But that's the decision, as Carolina also claims their free win over the Rangers 2-0. I've lost track of how many times the Rangers have been shut out at home now. Afterwards, they asked the captain, JT Miller, what is the mindset heading into the break? To which he literally said, I literally don't know. Come back with a better mindset, I guess. Really knocked that one out of the park there, pal. He is just dripping with enthusiasm. The Rangers are a disaster. It's okay, Rangers fans. The saving grace for you guys is that the Devils are also a disaster. They lose again to the Islanders. We then go to the Preds versus Capitals, where Jacob Chikrin wants to give his go for the SeatGeek goal of the week. Spinorama as the last man back. That is some risky business. This guy probably says hit me on 17 when he plays blackjack. He then proceeds to step right in and rip one bar and in. That's his 20th of the season. Caps get a big 2 points as well before the break. The only game on in the West was Vegas and LA, and like I said, Panarin's still sipping pina coladas in Turks and Caicos, so they get slapped by Vegas 4-1, but the real main event tonight was the Battle of Florida. Now, Florida needs this game bad. Every time these two teams meet, it's a war. Someone's punching someone, there's dirty hits, everyone's in the box, but it's the final game right before the Olympics, and both of these teams are sending 8 guys, so no one knows what to expect. Are we getting a game where for one night everyone just says, let's make it out healthy, or are we just saying, F it, we're going for blood? Turns out it was always option 2. Now, the hockey portion of this game, Tampa was dominating in the first 2 periods. They were up 4-0 after 2. Vasilevsky was a brick wall, while Tarasov was letting in muffins. So much talk surrounding the Panthers have been injuries, but not many seem to point out that their goaltending has been complete ass this season. 30th in the league with an .873 save percentage. That is not going to be any good to make the playoffs. So now the game is out of reach for Florida, and let's take a look at what Matthew Tkachuk is up to. Look at this guy take the scenic route to catch Kucherov from behind, and he just hammers him. Okay, so now he's done it. In comes Brandon Hagel, and I don't think there's 2 guys who hate each other more in this league than Hagel and Tkachuk. They fought at the Four Nations last year, and right now they're going again. Hagel steps in to defend Kucherov. He starts throwing haymakers at Tkachuk. So many rights. He's begging for a left. Everyone grabs a guy. Meanwhile, Forsling and Moser are going at it. Forsling throws Moser to the ground and then just starts wailing on him. Body shot, just the type of ones you eat from your big brother after you royally pissed him off. Holy boys, some of you are going to be teammates in a couple days at the Olympics, but they don't care. They want to tear each other apart. Afterwards, there were so many penalties in this game that the Stripes had to literally pull out a list on a piece of paper and read it off for all the penalties. Can't make this stuff up. Just another day in the Battle of Florida. Tampa, though, does win the game huge, 6-1. That win pretty much buries the Panthers' chances of making the playoffs this season. The Lightning look like the most dominant team in the league, while the back-to-back champs look like they're going to miss the playoffs heading into the Olympic break. So that is it for Week 18. It was a short week, but holy shit, were we jam-packed. Up next is the Olympics. We're going to be covering all of it on the channel. We're going to be having a preview video dropping early next week, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any coverage. And also, side note, my brother and I actually created another channel surrounding Marvel and DC comics and superhero stuff, so if you're a nerd and you like that stuff, go check that out and subscribe to the channel there, as we're pumping out content on the regular.